See Beneath You Beautiful podcast is raw and intimate, sometimes funny, and always entertaining. With new episodes every Saturday, Hara explores our loves, fears, and hopes with a delicious combination of depth and lightness. Today we interviewed Darius. Darius, will you introduce yourself and pronounce your last name?
Sure. My name is Darius Bashar, and I'm a soul having a human experience. And sometimes people like to think of me as a photographer, which is cool too.
You're an amazing photographer. And you also, during COVID, created Artist Morning, right?
Yeah. I'm a lot of things. I think I like to create things. So I run a photography business that I love. I run a community called Artist Morning. That's basically a community for kind, creative humans that like to meditate together and like to journal together and like to be in community and support each other. I run a third business that also started during COVID, which is called Dream Zoom. And I help people create their dream home studios so that they can make content that's connected to their heart and broadcast that content to the world really quickly and really beautifully.
That's awesome. How did you get onto Insight Timer?
How did I get onto Insight Timer? I discovered it. I didn't know about it before COVID. And then I just was a fan initially. I was like, wow, there's some amazing people here. And then I had this wacky idea, maybe one day I could be on Insight Timer. And so I did some research and I figured out that there's a process for it. And it took like 6 weeks the first time I did it. And it was just so discouraging. And I'm like, every 6 weeks, it takes 6 weeks for these guys because they actually listen to each meditation. I think a couple months later, I did my second one and they approved it in 48 hours. I'm like, oh, this is much more exciting. And just yesterday, actually, they featured my third meditation on the homepage. I think it's like 13 million views in a day. And that's always fun when people all over the planet are waking up to your voice and your energy and your creation. And it's incredible. You get comments that just like knock your socks off every single day from people that really resonate with it. And so it's kind of like fueling for me to keep going.
How are you getting people to come to Artist Morning?
I'm not sure. But they're coming from all over the world. I initially just through like my own Facebook and then Instagram, but slowly like there's more and more people that I think the majority of the people I've never met before in my life. Americans are the majority now. Before it was like people from my region, which is Toronto. Now there's way more Americans, which I think is really awesome. And Insight Timer and YouTube, I think, are the top places. What's interesting too is I've discovered people from YouTube who find and end up at the actual live meditations. They are way more diehard. And I'm not sure why, but they're usually like really into the live ones if they make it out to that. And so, yeah, Insight Timer and YouTube and Instagram now is a third in terms of bringing awesome humans to our community.
You really do have this wonderful community of people.
It's like a dream for me. It's like the most epic creative humans I've met in my life show up. And then all these other epic humans that I've never met before that are doing such fascinating things. And I recently have bought a bunch of things from people in the community because they're good, not because I, felt, like I had to because they're my friends. I was like, this is really awesome stuff. I didn't know you'd do this stuff. And so the other thing that gets me going is seeing people who met at Artist Morning collaborating together and co-creating new things. That's really an incredible thing to witness.
That's awesome. What was the impetus for starting Artist Morning?
Terror. Absolute terror. It started while I was in a mandatory travel quarantine as I came back from Costa Rica. And I went into like this spiral of panic when I came back. And for the first couple of days, I was like, okay, I can do this. This is going to be great. Extra time off. And then I just went into this dark place of, oh my God, does this mean photography's done for me? Does this mean art is done? I was just getting started. Do I have to go become like a farmer or a factory worker? I think I was watching way too much Handmaid's Tale. And I was like, oh my God, this is the end for art and creativity. And so I tried to do what I could to calm myself down. And for me, that meant meditation and journaling. And I kept asking the universe, like, dear universe, just show me the business solution for my photography business during COVID. And every time it would instead guide me to, hey, there's other people who feel lost like you. Maybe create a group and invite other creative humans to meditate and journal. I'm like, that's a great idea, universe. Just, we're going to shelf that one. Give me the money making idea for my photography business. And then I'll come back to that one. And I swear to God, 14 days straight, every time I meditate, it just keep giving me this vision of artist morning, artist morning, artist morning. I'm like, oh my God. And then on the 15th day, I said, screw it. I will humor you, universe. Let's make a mock-up. Let's make some wireframes. Let's come up with a name. And in 24 hours, I came up with a name, made a wireframe, made all the content, made videos, made application forms, made my first guided meditation, got a domain set up, got a hosting thing, got an email. I was just shocked at what came through me when I finally opened up and surrendered. And then from there, I didn't tell anyone for 2 weeks because I was scared. I felt like I had a baby, a creation baby, and I was like embarrassed and scared. I'm like, I'm not ready for this baby. What am I going to do with this thing? And then I listened to a podcast 2 weeks after that triggered the hell out of me because it felt like it was directly assaulting me. It was just like this guy, Preston Smiles, was like, if you consider yourself a spiritual person and a generous person and a community driven person, and you're sitting at home meditating by yourself during COVID, what the hell are you doing? How selfish are you? I was like, oh my God, he's talking about me. How did he know? And then that's what I needed. I needed to be triggered. The next day I put a post up telling people, calling myself out, telling people I did this thing. I'm scared. I don't know what it is. If you want to come to it on Monday and we'll see what happens. And that was the story of how Artist Morning came to be.
I love it.
When it comes to creativity, I grew up in a world where, yes, I understood what art was, but the idea of being an artist or making a life and a living creating things was not like an actual possibility. I grew up as a Middle Eastern kid. And so doctor, lawyer, engineer, those are the occupations. And it took me a very long time to finally step into artistry. And now I understand I have language thanks to people like Julia Cameron, who wrote, The Artist's Way, that for a very long time, I was a shadow artist. I was someone that was unconsciously drawn to art, but always on the periphery. So I worked in advertising, but as a strategist, because I always wanted to be around the creative people. I worked in film, but as a producer, because I was like secretly didn't believe I had it in me to be a creator, be an artist. So I always need to put myself around them. I made music videos for musical artists. And so it took me a very long time just to be like, no, I am an artist. All of us are artists because every day we are making something with our lives. There's a creation component. As much as some of us would like to think it's happening to us, it's happening for us. It's happening with us. We have power. We have agency. And so it's been a very long journey that started with me hiding behind the lens, behind the production, behind this creative idea, and then slowly stepping more and more into the artistry, and then slowly, almost surprisingly to myself, stepping in front of the camera, stepping in front of the photos, in front of the words, in front of the videos, and just watching as all my shit just came up of who are you? How dare you? Do you think you're smart enough, pretty enough, young enough, old enough, wise enough, whatever it is? Like, get the hell out of here. Nobody cares about you. And just watching all that shit come up and then unpacking it to figure out, where did it come from? Where did I learn this? You know, recently discovering just something in my culture that there's constantly people telling you, don't say nice things, don't celebrate yourself because you're going to jinx yourself. Mm. You know, in the Middle Eastern culture, specifically in the Persian culture, my culture, it was just like that message was reinforced. And so it was like, just stay quiet, stay small, because there's some force out there that's waiting for you to say something positive about yourself, and it's going to chop you down. In my 30s, I've just been exploring and discovering and getting to meet myself and know myself and all these different parts of myself, the 5-year-old self, the 8-year-old self, 13-year-old self, 20-year-old self, artist self, business self, Microsoft Excel junkie self. There's all these different parts of me, and I call them my cosmic family of selves. For me, it's been this practice, this creation of aligning the selves, leaving space for all those different parts, and also growing and cultivating and stepping into my higher self as like the father of that family.
Mm. That's a very wise, mature way of looking at yourself.
It's just a journey. It's a lot of mistakes, a lot of self-loathing, a lot of doubt, but a lot of tenacity and a lot of mentorship too. Like, I was very fortunate that I had a mom who was very much into personal development. And so when I was 16, 17, something like that, she started trying to bribe me into listening to Tony Robbins and meditating, you know? And I was like, yeah, no problem. Easy $20. Except she would have surprise quizzes to make sure I listened to the thing or I did the meditation. I'm like, damn, I never got a $20 bill. But she was very relentless, always feeding me Tony Robbins, Deepak Chopra, Wayne Dyer, Brian Tracy. There's so many different people. She would just like, here's the book, here's the tape, here's the book. Eventually I'm like, oh, this is some cool stuff. I kind of dig this stuff. Mm-hmm. And she still does that with all my like young cousins and stuff now, and my nephews and nieces. And so that was definitely formative. And then just going out in life and doing stuff and making mistakes. Like, I started businesses when I was very, very young. Some of them made a lot of money. Some of them lost a lot of money. And you get big and expansive and maybe too big from an ego standpoint. And then you get humbled. What does this mean for the rest of my life? And so I've gone to a lot of different stuff, a lot of programs, strong believer in mentorship and like coaching, and like recently a lot of therapy. Mm-hmm. And that's been like massive for my life.
I'm just so impressed when you're younger and you get it sooner. And I'm glad you had your mom there.
She is a tenacious human. Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't for her, I would, because I was very stubborn at times, but she kept pushing and it made a huge, huge difference. Yeah. Especially if you get them going young, because it builds a foundation for that.
Right. Really awesome. What's your vision for your future? What do you see happening? Any big plans?
I see a beach. I see working on getting some abs back. It's been like 20 years since I've seen those guys. I'm working on slam dunking a ball because that's always been a vision of mine. I'm working on balance. I am very prone to workaholism and I'm working on a family. And that's a new-ish goal for me. And it's a really important goal for me. And work's awesome. And I love all the things I do. But I want to create a world for myself where there's freedom, where I don't have to work and I can take chunks of time off and just spend time with my family. That's my biggest vision right now.
Do you have a way of living, a quote that you love?
So many. The ones I've been saying to myself recently a lot and maybe they make no sense to anyone else, and I'm cool with that. But in the end, we all get a standing ovation. I can't stop thinking about that one.
Is that a quote you heard?
No, I just made it up.
Oh, what does it mean? What does it mean to you?
I think in the end, we all get a standing ovation.
For living, for having lived?
Yeah. It's like if you knew in the end you'd get a standing ovation, you'd take life a lot less seriously. You wouldn't stress. You win. We all win in the end. It's already decided. You know, like if you were going to give a talk and I told you you're going to get a standing ovation 100%, guaranteed, you'd be like, okay.
Yeah.
And then you can just enjoy and embrace and soak it all in instead of stressing and stressing and stressing. And of course, so we can't fully know that or else it would make it no fun. But in the end, I sincerely believe we all get a standing ovation. And so that takes a lot of the edge off.
That really chokes me up today because my friend, who was the second person I interviewed for this podcast, just passed away from cancer. And it's really beautiful idea of thinking that she's got a standing ovation. Thanks for that.
Yeah. I just imagine it since I was a kid. I had this vision of like, when you're done, all the people that you encountered in your life are just standing there. And there's just, you know, but all of the people, even the people that did you wrong, you know, it's like they played a role. You know, when you watch theater and the villain comes out too, and they're like, oh, we even give him one. We're like, you were so good. You played that role so well. That's how I see it. Like people who were malicious and terrible to us, they're there and they're giving you a standing ovation and you're giving them a standing ovation. You're like, that was a trip. Thank you for the role you played in my life. And we remember that we're all connected. You know, we're all, in my opinion, all God. We're all God manifest. And so that thing gives me a lot of peace.
Me too. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. I don't know where it came from. Things drop from the sky and I start saying them and then I hear them for the first time. That's kind of how all my meditations work. I like experience them with you guys. I'm like, oh, where did I come up with that? I don't even remember that, you know? And so that's one that I really like. Another one I really like is when things go wrong, things go right. And that's kind of been the story of my life too. And these are just things I keep saying to myself over and over again. Like the worst things that have ever happened to me in my life all led to incredible things.
Right.
If anyone in your life had a track record, the way in which the universe has, for me at least, you would never doubt them ever again. You know, every time, cancers, deaths, divorces, bankruptcies, whatever it was that happened in my life, they always led to something beautiful. And so, you know, when things go wrong, things go right.
I 100% agree. Yeah. That's so beautiful. I love that too. And I think that too. I didn't say it so eloquently, but I always say it's all okay. Everything's okay. Always at this very moment. Because no matter what, at this very moment, no matter what I'm going through, I am okay. Like I'm safe in the world, you know, and if you can live in this moment, then you're okay. And you are so right. Every divorce and bankruptcy and bad relationship led me to my beautiful husband and house and family and to this beautiful moment. Yeah. I love that.
The other one I really like is, and this one's definitely not mine, is things are happening for me, not to me. That's a really powerful one for me.
Me too.
Yeah, it's all happening for me. It's all happening for me.
Is there anything that you've listened to more than once or over and over that just has changed you or helped you in any way?
Most definitely. The first thing that comes to mind is my heart. My heart is the best audiobook I've ever listened to. The best ideas, best support, the most unconditional love, the best coaching, the best love advice. My heart's got it, all of it. So does yours and everyone else's. I think it's all there always. I love listening to sound bowls, just like no lyrics, those type of things. When I listen to them, it's more rich, more robust than words sometimes, because there's a transmission of energy. And I get so much from that experience. As of yesterday, I've been binging Seth Godin's new book, Practice.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible. It's one of those, I haven't had a book like that for a while, where it feels like it was written just for me in this exact moment of my life. And so that has been fantastic. And then the last one I'll share is David Data's book, The Way of the Superior Man. I think I read and listened to that 5 times last year.
Oh, okay. I'm very emotional today, but I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. And I'm so thankful that you share so much of yourself and share your wisdom so freely and generously. And you've made a real difference in my life.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. It's nice to hear.
Is there anything else you want people to know about you or about Artist Morning, or about how they can find you maybe?
Yeah, sure. It's pretty easy to find me. I'm Darius Bashar everywhere. So either .com, Instagram, Facebook, and then Artist Morning, if it resonates, if you're looking for space, support, and structure to meditate, to journal, to connect in community with really an amazingly kind and supportive group of humans from all over the world, come meditate with us. It's completely free. Everyone's welcome. You might see both of us there. And it happens every Wednesday and Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern.
When you were asking or meditating during COVID, what can I do? Because photography is not happening at the moment.
Yeah.
And you were told Artist Morning. Artist Morning is not paying your bills. So how did you say, okay, yeah, I'm going to do this and take up a lot of my time? I know you were doing it 3 days a week in the beginning. And yet, was it generating income, or is it generating income?
No. There was a small portion in the summer where it did generate some income through like a coaching program that I created as an offshoot called Deep Divers Academy. But no, it's entirely funded through my photography business. And for 2021, I just got this download again that it's like, don't worry about business stuff. Don't worry about marketing stuff. Don't worry about making decisions. Just play, just create, just be generous, and, just be you. I've made a decision for 2021. I was just going to experiment and explore and tinker and give myself permission to have fun. And at the end of the year, I'm going to, take a look and be like, okay, do I want to do another year like that? Am I able to do another year like that? Because there are a lot of costs associated to it. There's a lot of content going out. There's a lot of time and energy. And after reading half of Seth Godin's book, I was just like, this makes a ton of sense, because this is a part of my practice. Mm-hmm. It has me creating from a place of love and joy and growth. It's got rituals embedded in it. It's impacting people. It's like, actually, I love his definition of art, which he says art is a generous act of service where you don't know what the outcome is. Mm-hmm. You don't know. Will people receive it? Will it work? You're not sure, but you're going to try. You're going to try because you think it could impact someone's life. It just feels like exactly where Artist Morning is. And it fuels me. It feeds me. It's given me so much community and so much love and so much consistency and structure to continue my practice. That practice of creating every day. And so when you look at it through that lens, I think it's a massive success, even though it's not making money right now. And the caveat to that is because I have a source of income. You know, if it was like, I've done this myself and I see a lot of people doing this, they're like, I'm just going to create. I'm just going to create. I'm not going to worry about anything else. I'm just going to throw 1,000% of me and create, and something's going to happen. Something's going to expand, explode. My viral sensation thing is going to happen, you know, and then 99.9999999% of the time, that doesn't happen. And we just burn out, you know, so pay the bills. It's really important to pay the bills.
Right.
However that works for you, whether it's your photography business or working in Starbucks or working a corporate job or whatever it is. And then continue making your art, you know, because that's the only sustainable way to make the art, is to make sure like your bills and all that other stuff is taken care of.
Yeah. I have graphic design, which pays the bills, which lets me do some of these photography series for free, which fills my heart up. And same thing with this podcast. It just feels kind of the same way. I know I'm supposed to be doing this and it feels good, and it takes up so much time. I can't believe how many hours I take in editing, like easily 6, 7, 8 per episode. But I can't think of anything I'd rather be doing. Well, this was so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing and being part of my world. I really appreciate you. And thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome. And thanks for having me. And thanks for continually working on your own practices. I think it's a very generous thing to do, to create and love what you create. And just hearing you talk about this and talking to you outside of, you know, this podcast, I know you love what you're doing. And that is an act of service.
Thanks so much, Darius.
Hi, my name is Misha, and I make videos. And recently I started making music.
Oh, cool.
My story with Artist Morning is I've known Darius for a while. Him and I went to a summer camp together for adults. And him and I have actually worked together at times. And I've run him into some projects of video nature, and he brought me in for some projects of photography nature. And I've learned a lot from him, even before Artist Morning. And then COVID happens. And I remember he just made a post, and he also shared it with like a group of friends that we have. And he was like, hey guys, I'm starting this thing. At the time, I had just missed out on a job opportunity that was very lucrative because of COVID. So I was very much not feeling good and quite frankly depressed, and was waking up very late. So I just saw wake up for 9, which at the time was seemed like a really early time, and meditate and journal. And I've experienced both. I did Vipassana, so that's a 10-day sound retreat, and I've meditated plenty of time before, but it's never been a part of my routine. But I follow a lot of people that are successful, or I sort of look for patterns of success, and I see oftentimes people that I admire, mentors, people that have achieved high statuses in different career paths or accolades, mentioned they do those things. So I've always been sort of drawn to it, or thought about it'd be good if I did that. So it felt like a no-brainer, and obviously supporting D and I started working together. And since then, it's been over a year now. We've been working together and editing videos with and for him and helping him shoot stuff. So I didn't come into Artist Morning being an artist, but I'm now a full-fledged person making art for money from many different sort of modalities too, right? So it feels very transformational and very unexpected, you know?
That's awesome.
I think that part of why Artist Morning works is because it's not just the meditations. I think the fact that it's live, and I think that's what I'm drawn to. Another, I guess, truth is he has a beautiful voice. He exemplifies professionalism in ways that don't feel like it. You know, when I say professionalism, how many days has he missed, you know? And he's always on time. He's never late. He's never, you know.
Yeah, I really appreciate that also, that I can count on it.
And that's Darius. That's what he is.
That's beautiful. The community is a really lovely group of people that I feel like he's curated somehow, even though it's open to anybody. But I love who's drawn to him.
I think that's the key, right? To him / the vibe, right? That we all create.
Right.
My name is Holly McCorriston, and I am a life coach, mental fitness trainer, and former pharmacist. I was actually really excited to hear about this project, Hera, because my 1-year anniversary with Artist Morning is coming up, and I had been dabbling with how can I create maybe some kind of a gratitude project or express to Darius like my intense connection and like appreciation for the community, because it has, I think, really been integral in my own growth and journey. So yeah, I was really excited to see you were doing this. I'm like, oh, Hera's doing something awesome.
Yeah.
A year ago, I had been working with a life coach for about a year. And of course, a year ago, we were in the middle of this new pandemic. Everything had changed. I had originally intended on leaving my job as a pharmacist in June of 2020, and then this pandemic hit. So I just said to my coach one day that I really wanted to go through the book, The Artist Way, in a session. And she said, oh, no. You don't have to come up with your own group. She's like, go check out this guy, Darius. I've been in this position of transition for the last, I would say, just over 2 years. I had kind of a mental breakdown in 2018, the beginning of 2019, and realized what I was doing wasn't working for me. I hired a coach, worked with this coach for about a year, started coach training, all these identity shifts. And I found I was really alone as I got sober. I didn't have a lot of in-person friends. And then of course, pandemic, and it's like my circle got smaller. So the Artist Morning community and the way it's held and supported in this container and just the energy is something I've never experienced before. I also just love being in this community of creators where we are free to express ourselves, and it's just so welcoming. I think it's hard to explain if you haven't been there. I have recommended the community to lots of people. Some people come, and some people just listen to Darius' meditations on YouTube, all of them, but have never come live. So I find that interesting. And then I remember back to my own apprehension of, will I be accepted? Will I be seen? Will I be loved here? Darius has this special ability to see people. I think he's even expressed that in his work as a photographer. I actually worked with him. He did a private paid container last summer, and I was part of that group. And I don't even know if it was during that group or if it was after an Artist Morning session, but he just sent me a voice note, and it literally just said, I see you. And I broke down on my back step and I just cried, because it's one thing to be seen and it's another thing to be acknowledged.
He's something, isn't he?
Yeah. And it's a special quality to be able to hold that kind of space, especially for a group.
Oh, I remember you telling me that the person who referred you never actually made it to Artist Morning. Have they since?
No, she never has. And that was part of the interesting story, even in her own journey, was, she had been feeling really disappointed in herself for a long time that she couldn't make it. And I think one day she realized, she's like, it was never for me. It was always for you.
That's beautiful. I know you were saying that you wanted to honor Darius. It's been about a year for you. Is there anything you want to say about him or to him?
Oh gosh, I don't know, Hera. I might cry if I start.
Well, crying is totally okay. I've been tearing up this whole time for some reason. I'm so emotional. I was emotional talking to him as well. I don't even know what he has done in particular to my life, but in general, I feel so much richer.
Yeah, richer is a good word to describe it, because there's like some kind of quality. A couple of weeks ago, he did this meditation on writing a book, and I was like, oh, this isn't for me right now. And 2 days later, I started writing a book to my unborn child.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't know if he knows how special what he's created actually is. There was a meditation in November that probably unlocked everything as to why I am where I am now. And there was a woman that attended that day that I had never seen before and I have not seen since. So if she had not come to that one meditation and said the one thing that hit me in the depths of my soul, and I did, I had a complete meltdown. I had 3 people check on me after.
I've got chills.
I wouldn't be where I am now. I would not be sitting in Calgary in my partner's house pregnant if that woman had not come to that session and helped me realize that I wanted a family.
I'm Lillian Mota. I do many things, depending on who's asking. Pretty much like creating experiences. So anything from retreats to workshops on things on emotional intelligence and just pretty much how to communicate with your body. I'm a stretch therapist. That's what I do. That's when I leave my house to go do every day. I've known Darius for about 4 years. Feels like I've known him for 4 million years. Yeah, he's a very special person. So
there was like an instant connection between you guys. Is that right?
Yeah. So I actually hired Darius for his photography. He had these black and white portraits that I had been seeing all over my Facebook. So I was like, who is this guy? What is this magic that he's creating? So for my 30th birthday, I hired Darius to do the black and whites. And from the first phone call, I remember telling him, I was like, I think you and I are going to be best friends. And he was like, aren't we already? And the 4-hour photo shoot turned into an 8-hour photo shoot. And it just propelled to this like beautiful friendship of honesty. Like, I think our relationship started on a very honest and very raw platform, allowing him to see me, and the questions that he asked and probed as we were doing our session really sped up the friendship. And then we just said to each other, hey, how about we explore this friendship and we're just radically honest with each other? And I was like, yeah, I can do that. Let's do that. He became my best friend. I was the first Artist Morning participant. I was in Costa Rica at the time. He called me and he said, Lil, I have this idea. I got this like download and I don't know what I should do with it. And I really, really, really want to try it out. He originally thought it was going to be like 4 hours or 3 times a week. I immediately was like, no, that's not going to work. Start with an hour, dude. He said to me, okay, I need an hour of your day. Bring a journal. Cool. I didn't ask any questions. I just brought my journal and showed up. He took me through the meditation, his first meditation, which was like a meditation on speed, because it's so funny now. Everybody's like, oh, Darius's meditations are so profound. And they are. They're very like, I've gone places with his meditations, but I got to hear the first one. And I was like, no.
Was he trying to just cover too much information? Was he trying to do everything?
He put everything he had learned about meditation to one meditation. Yeah, it just kind of started from there. And then he said, hey, would you do the movement? And I was like, of course. Mm-hmm. And started doing the movement section for him. And then it just kind of evolved. And now it's its own kind of magic, right? Now we have like over 40 people showing up, and yeah, it's just such a beautiful curated community.
Is there anything you want people to know about Darius as a person? Or I don't know him very well, but I'm overwhelmed by his generosity of spirit and his wisdom that he generously shares.
Darius is the most inspirational person that I know. He is somebody that I call when I don't want to hear the truth, because he'll tell me the truth. He's a very honest person. He's somebody that really sees the big picture. It's not every day that you talk to somebody that really allows you to see beyond your emotion, beyond the feeling, right? So with him, I can really take something that I'm going through and see it from a different perspective, but I can also see where I'm stuck or where my dreams are. And he's somebody that helps me see the dream and lay the foundation for that, right? He's my best friend. He's somebody that I can call on for many things because his intention is purely to make people's lives better. I see it in the risks that he takes. I see it in the ways that he manages his many businesses that he has right now. And yeah, it's always with the intention of service and growth and expansion. Like those are the words that I think about when I think of D.
My name is Fatima Kamenge. Let's start with what is known. I'm a human who is often in Toronto, on Turtle Island. And the work that I do in the world is around social impact and social enterprise. I am at the intersection of power, good, impact, and business. I'm also a creator and an artist that uses words most often as the medium for my creation. I have known Darius because we are part of this crew of people who came together through this camp, this adult camp called Reset. It's kind of like a weekend that is a digital detox, but also a weekend of personal growth and healing and play, where we get to explore our inner child in a very safe and wonderfully well-curated space. So I've known Darius from that community for a while. And when Artist Morning started, he was very low-key about it. He didn't tell too many people about it. It was such a beautiful creation. It's an extension of his soul. I have loved his work for a really long time. I wasn't surprised when Artist Morning started developing with what it is, because it is exactly, again, a moment of pure Darius expression, this beautiful space where others, including himself, can express, can be. The community that has grown around it, that is something that I have come to truly appreciate. Yes, the meditations are lovely, but the community, the sense of safety, the vulnerability, the compassion, the incredible wisdom that is being shared, and how many incredible people are being attracted to that space, to that community, is brilliant.
And I think attracted to Darius in particular, right?
Yes.
The community doesn't exist. The whole project doesn't exist without Darius.
Absolutely. Sometimes people teach by example or by imparting ways, or they give you a step-by-step method or a process or a methodology. Darius does that too, by the way. That's not the part that I learned from Darius. You know what's the most amazing thing about Darius to me? It's his fearlessness. It's a very human fearlessness. His constant and unrelenting way of going outside and completely away from his comfort zone. And he does it in a very unsafe way, but a safe way in the same time. And he just goes a little further. And when you think he's completely out of this realm right now, he just goes further. Mm-hmm. And that could make us all just look at him and put him on a pedestal and say, hey, oh my God, he's special. He's special. And because he's Darius, he can do it. However, thanks to how gentle and beautifully he does it, you don't put him on a pedestal. You see the stairway that he has constructed to go to that height. And you're like, oh, there is a stairway. And you build your own stairway, and he helps you realize that you yourself can build your stairway to wherever you need to go. And that is the power in Darius. It's not that he makes himself completely unattainable, it's that he shows you how extraordinary you are through his being, through his constantly and ever-growing generosity of soul and self. His ability to connect and flow and express, it makes you realize how much of you can also be expressed. It's just beautiful. Before Darius, my Instagram was private. Now I actually have one where I put my writing. That's a Darius Inspiration. It took me a while to remember myself. And Darius is one of those people that when you're exposed to him, you can't help but remember yourself. It's jarring, it's shocking, it's a little scary, it's very scary, but also it's warm. I'm very thankful to him.